Why? Aloha and welcome to season 3, episode 7 of the Bodhi Bros. Somewhere over the rainbow. I don't know. Bodhi Ray's shirt is inspiring me today.
Yes.
To bring in those aloha vibes. Aloha means hello, and it also means goodbye. It's also a spirit too. And speaking of spirit, I'm John with a J.
And I'm Bodhi Ray. And yes, bring in the Hawaiian energy because it's a snowy day in Cleveland. So I want to bring in that tropical Hawaiian vibe and maybe manifest some good weather.
Great. And it is just the opposite here in Orlando. You've got snow on your cars. And when I got out of the car earlier, I was walking as fast as I could to get back in the house so I didn't like sweat through this shirt. So, opposite ends of the rainbow, aloha is also a way of life. It's a way of living in community and friendly exchange and loving and honoring one another. And like I said, speaking of spirit, Ray, you want to tell the folks out there what we intend to do today?
What we're going to do, I like to call it like a spirit talk. So it will sort of be like a reading. We'll pick a card. We'll each take turns with a card. And we're going to let we're going to let spirit dictate what we talk about. So and we're going to go back and forth. If it comes up a topic we don't really have much to say, then we'll go pick another card. We're just going to go with the flow. You guys can use that as a reading if you want. So we'll tell you, okay, we're going to pick a card from this deck. So if you have questions, something on your mind, something important, you need some clarification for, you could set your intention, ask your question ahead of time. We'll pull the card, we'll reveal what it is. But we're really mostly just using this for the sake of a conversation.
Right. Unplanned, unscripted, just
Right.
total
Raw.
raw from the heart flow conversation. Whatever the cards say talk about, we're going to talk about. And
We're
we'll
hitting it raw
probably
with
do
these decks.
what's that?
We're hitting it raw with these decks.
We are hardcore. And um, we are probably going to use 3 decks each, so a total of 6.
Maybe. We'll just go with the flow. Whatever
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah. So that will be the most because I've only got, unless Ray wants to add more, because I've only got
Yeah,
3.
I got plenty of
And
decks.
oh no, that's true. I got more over here too that are in arm's reach. So we'll see what time permits, how the conversation flows, and where it'll grow from here. So, without any further ado, I have selected 3. Again, that we have more decks, but I've selected 3 very feminine decks today. I was drawn to all the feminine, energetic decks in the house, and 3 here that I probably have never used on a Bodhi Bros broadcast before. At least I don't think so. And if I have, oh well, welcome back. The first one's very light, and I think can get us started on this conversational journey. It is Mermaids and Dolphins. Magical
Magical.
mermaids.
Don't forget the magical.
Magical. Not just normal mermaids and dolphins. Like,
Yeah, not your
oh,
everyday
look,
dolphin.
look at that boring dolphin over there, like, it's got to be a magical
Look at
dolphin.
that doll mermaid.
Yeah, lazy ass mermaid on a rock. Although that's what this one's doing. But this one's connecting with a fairy, which makes her magical. So,
Okay.
magical mermaids and dolphins, card 1, season 3, episode 7.
So if you want a reading right now is the time is to think of your question, what you want,
Right.
relationship, career, whatever, the world, maybe even for a family member.
It's my hula dance, getting
I
the
like it.
energy into the cards, out of the cards.
I got my Hawaiian guys right here. I should put these guys out.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
I got these guys from Maui both times I went. I got one each time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I'll bring the Hawaiian spirit.
When I was in Hawaii, it was hard not to be a tourist and get sucked into those souvenir shops and stuff too. I was like, it's like so normally not my style, but I'm like, Hawaii's just a different planet, man. Everything's like, man, I haven't been to Maui yet. I can't wait to go there. That'll be one of our Bodhi Bros retreats since Ray has experience in Maui. That's a totally different song. Okay. All right. Here in Florida, we have lots of cockroaches. All right. Okay, I'm ready. Whoa! Whoa, that was loud.
That was good, man.
I did. I like that. Very. Whoa, okay, here we go. Boom! Starting the story off with da 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 da. Ooh, empowerment.
Ooh, I like it.
All right. So
Wow.
empowerment. We've got some magical mermaids celebrating a very angelically illuminescent mermaid. So it looks like, and at the bottom it says, "You are more powerful than you realize. You are more powerful than you realize, Ray, Bodhi Ray. It's safe, Ray. It's
Yep.
saying it's safe for you to be powerful."
Yes. Thank you.
This is an important theme, and I'm glad we're starting off with this, folks, because it's very easy in this very scary world
Do we even need
to.
to read anymore? Or should we just talk about it from here?
You mean like do the reading
Yeah.
from the book?
Do we need to do
Uh,
the reading?
I don't even know, man. I mean,
I
like,
don't think we need to do the reading. Do you want to?
there's not much here, and
Okay, go for it.
um, like there's there's an affirmation that I can read when to wrap it up. But yeah, it's very easy in this scary world to cower, to let our traumas shackle us and keep us in patterns and be small. But I don't know, man. I think we've been given this life. Not everyone has to be a superstar or celebrity or be big, whatever that means. But we all have something inside of us that's big, and that looks very different in many different ways for many different people. So allowing that bigness, that passion in you, that shining star, whatever it is, or whatever they may be, those different talents, gifts, whatever word you want to dial up on that. Um, Allowing it to speak, allowing it to breathe, allowing your wings to be extended, like here in the picture of the card, and fly, man. And you're good. It's going to be scary. The ride's going to be terrifying because there's going to be things. There's going to be subconscious, uh, just claws and heaviness that are going to try and pull you down or whatever. But I think it's about enjoying those moments and celebrating those moments when you feel that big thing inside of you, and it does come out and people around you see it and they're like, oh, what's that thing? Or like, ooh, I didn't know you had that in you. And they're clapping and they're like, man, I want to see more of that. And then a lot of times that's the trigger that makes people go, whoa, okay, not going to bring that out again.
Right.
At least I'm speaking from a place of experience there. I'm very, very guilty of that. And I think, Ray, you probably have some things to say about why we do that.
Well, I think what it says is about staying safe. It kind of reminded me of the video, that JP Sears video about embracing your weirdness.
Oh,
That's
shit.
kind of
Yeah.
what came to me when you read that, and it's like, so I think the problem is we all want that approval from people. We want to feel accepted, and that really what kind of tries to keep us safe, keep us from being empowered, is because we don't want to stand out in the crowd, because we're afraid if we stand out, we're going to be judged and people are going to ridicule us and be like, oh, that guy's weird. So that's kind of what, keeping us safe, is that ego tries to do that to protect us. But in the same way, though, it's keeping us from being authentic. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I got you.
Okay.
Your picture's
So
frozen, but we can hear you.
it's keeping us from being authentic. So, the more healing we do, the more shadow work, the more we get in touch with that part of us that is that power within, the more safe we are to express it. But it takes courage. It takes a deal of courage, because you said there's gonna be a pushback. There's a lot of people, friends and family, that are used to us being a certain way, and then when you step out of that comfort zone, those people are gonna look at you kind of like weird. They're gonna be like, oh, and but you kind of have to have that faith in yourself. And if they're the people that judge you or walk away from you or leave the relationship, then they're not really meant to be there to begin with, I think. So it's stepping into your authenticity is the same way to me as being empowered.
Yes, and allowing your weirdness, allow
Yes.
whatever it may be. Like, let's get those flags and fly them around and be and find your other like-minded, weirdos out there. I when I love when someone asks me, they're like, "Oh, is that weird or am I being weird?" I'm like, "Yes, yes," and they're like, "Oh, sorry," and I'm like, "No, no, keep being weird. Like, let's celebrate our weirdness together." I love weird. I don't want the sleepy mermaid on the rock. I want the one reaching for the fairy. I don't want I don't want the lazy dolphin, the boring.
If you're a dolphin,
Yeah.
time to be a magical dolphin.
Yes, you got to
If you're a
ride the
mermaid,
waves.
time to be a magical mermaid.
Yes,
All right,
yes.
let's
Twist
move
things
on to
up.
the next. I
All
think
right,
you got.
let me read the affirmation real quick.
Okay.
Okay, if you pick this card for a reading, here's your affirmation. It says, affirm frequently. It's safe for me to be powerful. I accept my God-given power to be used in the service of light and love. Then enjoy the shifts you see around you instead of worrying what others think about you. Use your power to make the world a better place. You may never. Wait, does that really say it? It says, you may never feel self-conscious again. Okay.
Great reading, man. All right, I'm gonna do. This is sort of a light one too. Easy to talk about topics is the Ganesha. So that one's usually kind of like that, like a one word type thing, and then it kind of revolves around that. If we need to look at the reading, the book, we will. All right, come on, Ganesha.
Take us from empowerment to the next obvious transitional topic, Ganesha. Folks, if you want a reading from Ray, remember, okay, here's your reading from Ray.
Belonging.
Belonging.
Belonging. So, you want me to read that one? I think maybe I'll read a little bit of that one.
Okay. Yeah, let me give me a second to think about it.
Yeah, you could think about that one.
Fine, I will. Sure. Tell me.
Okay. Oh, it's a very short one.
Okay.
Learn to find security from within. In this card, Ganesha uses a mouse as his vehicle, which signifies his triumph over the ego. In Hindu mythology, the mouse symbolizes the ego, for the ego can eat away at all that is good and decent in a person. Belonging seeks to solve the predicament of the ego's own perceived separation. Since the ego has no conscious memory of its connection to others and to source, you experience a need to get out of seclusion by bonding with people around you. These people can be your family, peer groups, or your community. The ego is neither good nor bad, but simply a necessary part of this existence. The ego can manifest inclinations that are either more positive or more negative in nature. There are many positive aspects to belonging. You develop the ability to love, connect, bond, share, and care for others. You see yourself more clearly through the mirror of relationship. It is important in belonging that you try not to seek approval from others. In this card, Ganesha is here to help you focus on the positive feelings from being part of a community. Learn to trust, ask for help, and rely on others.
It's funny you looked up because you saw me like waving like a lightsaber or something. Like, Ray, we can't hear you. But no, we could hear you the whole time. That was me waving my freak flag, man. The weird, the banner for fellow weird. Yes, the weirdos to unite. And there's so many things that make us unique and make us special. And that big thing inside of us, that empowering thing that we suppress so often. But if we let it out, we find out that there are so many other people out there just like us. And as Ray said, maybe your current tribe or your current blood, ancestral family isn't a match for that and is not ready for that. So that, allows you to attract your tribe. And, by putting your authentic vibe out there, you become a magnet for like-minded people or people that are ready to celebrate you or see you and want to connect with you because they see in you something that maybe that they're suppressing in them and that's inspiring for them, or they're doing the same thing at the same time and they just see you as a person that they're like, man, I feel very similar. Like I feel a connection to this person. I don't know why. And then boom, bang, you start creating community. And right now in this crazy climate of disconnection and all things, still being very turbulent and segregated and cautious and just strange, community has really suffered in so many ways and in so many environments. So, but we could still do that. We could do it online. We can do it where we feel safe doing it. We as businesses and our cities start opening up again and public spaces and people start calming down a little bit and connecting more, whatever. Like it's time to unite again. It's time to, man, we've had all this time to sit at home, to reflect, to connect with what we really want. Maybe we lost a lot of things, jobs or what have you, and that gives us these spaces to say, okay, what do I need? What do I want to be a more fulfilled human being? And hopefully in that equation, that conversation, somewhere is the word community, because man, that is so paramount. And
In Hinduism, they call it satsang, and then in Buddhism, they call it sangha. And I remember reading somewhere that Buddha said sangha was probably like one of like the most important, this community, to be around like-minded people that resonate. Because, well, first of all, sometimes we think we're alone in this, in this journey. We think that, man, nobody gets, especially when you're first awakening, and you start falling, things start falling away from you with the old relationships, and you start seeing things differently, new perspectives. It could feel like a death, like you're almost kind of like you're dying in a way. And sometimes we think that we're the only ones that's ever gone through this, and we're not. There's a lot of people who have gone through the same things as us. So sometimes, finding out, reaching out to other people, you know, gives you a sense that, hey, I'm not alone in this. And, maybe they can kind of give you some guidance, stuff that they went through as well to help you out. And also, I think with belonging too is make sure you feel, you belong to yourself. There's that self belonging, that you accept yourself as you are, and you're not trying to, look for people to kind of just validate and trying to, like, improve your status, that is true. You're not looking for validation, from yourself. You're looking for this acceptance of approval. It's kind of like when you were a kid and, maybe, you looked up at the cool kid that, you want to, you didn't sit at the cool table at lunch, and you're thinking, man, if I was with those cool groups that, everybody would like me and, or do this. And so it's, you got to really work on your self-worth sometimes too, and not rejecting yourself and loving yourself, and working on that. So when you belong to yourself and you accept yourself, it seems like you become a man and other people start accepting you, instead of judging your flaws and all this stuff. And
yeah,
so I think, belonging to yourself is really important.
and being as authentic as you possibly can is such a magnet for some really magical, transformative things within community, within your ancestral blood family, etc. And so, piggybacking on what Ray was saying, honoring, you know, those things that come up in you, and creating healthy boundaries. Here's a for instance. Maybe for you, you've found that, and we'll talk specifically about diet and food, that you can only eat certain foods, or certain foods you really have to stay away from, right? And so that's really big and sensitive around families and culture and, like, tradition, history. Like every Sunday we go over mom's house and we eat this, or, blah, blah, blah. Dad cooks his fill in the blank. And like, that's his, it's a project of passion for him. And he loves, feeding everyone. But you can't eat that food anymore. I'm gonna tell you, I cannot eat at my dad's house anymore. I cannot eat at my mom's house anymore because of the type of foods that they cook. I just can't, it would bury me. Like literally, I can't do it. My body's become too sensitive now. I can't do it. Now, a lot of times we feel, if we don't have those healthy boundaries, we feel like, oh, I don't want to hurt mom's feelings or dad's feelings. I've got to eat that, you know, eggplant parmesan. Like I have to do it. Cheese is really not good for me, but it's just one plate. That's where we fail ourselves. Like we can, in that moment, if we do it lovingly, if we do it um, in a manner that's respectful, I think it's an opportunity to shine and lead by example in your family and say, like, man, John's making some tough decisions, and like he's he's so committed and very, just he's very dedicated to staying this path. And like, look at how he's, like he's lost this weight, or like he's glowing more, like I've never seen him so healthy or happy or whatever. And that could eventually, not always, and this is a tough road, man, especially with family and historical patterns that have been going on for centuries, that our parents passed down to them, to us. And if we can't eat their food or our food anymore, man, a lot of times you become the black sheep really quick. Oh, he's a
Mhm.
vegan now, or his my food's not good enough for him, or he has to have all organic, whatever it may be, and it's a lot of times drinking becomes a thing too, where that peer pressure comes in, where it's such a thing. Everyone, we all drink, and it's just one glass of wine, or it's just one this. I can't do it, me
Yeah.
personally, and there's a lot of people that can't or shouldn't do it, but we fall into that trap of I just want to be accepted, or I don't want to hurt people's
Right.
feelings or whatever, and that's ultimately a disservice to everybody, because you're not being real with your family or these people, whatever. You're not giving anyone a chance to evolve or grow. Not that I'm on this path that's best for everyone, but it's best for me. And I think that kind of helps teach people around you, well, maybe I can do what's best for me, and maybe the food they're eating is best for them, but maybe there's other things in their lives that they can change, or might be open to think about changing, because they see a vehicle of change right in front of them that's working, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Inspire others.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right. Let's do the next one.
Yay, okay. My deck number 2 in the spirit of femininity is bum
Ooh,
the
the goddess.
goddess guidance oracle cards. We're going with the goddess.
Going with the goddess.
Little crown situation. If you'd like a reading from the goddess deck, this could be a reading. But
All right.
we're just spirit talking,
We're
allowing the
talking.
cards.
We just flowing.
Shake, shake, shake.
We letting these vibes flow.
Shake, shake, shake.
We the Bodhi Bros.
Dab. I don't know how do you dab? Is it? I
I know,
never.
brother.
I know, brother. How do you dab? What is the dab like that? Is it down
I
and
don't think
up
people
like
do
that?
it anymore. They
I don't
probably
know.
should.
No, is that old? Okay.
Yeah, I don't do
Did
that anymore.
what the cabbage? Bring that back. What? What? Okay.
Thriller.
Oh yeah, the Thriller. I love the and then what else is there? There's so many. There's so many. We'll do a whole episode on old 80s and 90s dances. Okay, one, two, three. Oh, crown of the crown. Pow! Okay, here we go. I've got the power. Skin, 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 kind of hectic.
Ooh,
Skin, skin.
Mary Magdalene.
Yeah, it
Unconditional
is.
love.
Whoa, man, I love unconditional. Who doesn't love unconditional
I
love?
love
We've
unconditional love.
gone from empowerment to belonging to unconditional love. Exciting and new. Look into my eyes. Come aboard. We're expecting you to
All right, I could
love.
talk about unconditional love.
Okay, love yourself, others in every situation. Every situation, Bodhi Ray, no matter what the outward appearances may be. Come on.
Well, I noticed that my marriage and my other relationship I had that last year, that everything that I've been through.
Oh no, we lost Bodhi Ray. Damn it. There must be some resistance around this unconditional love, folks. Cannot hear the Bodhi Ray, so we'll fill the space. There, he's back. He's back. Okay, so your marriage, your marriage, your
Yeah,
marriage.
after a relationship, I was treated really bad and everything, and man, I had more than a million reasons to hate and be angry. And it wasn't just the marriage; it was the other relationship too, that ended badly. And what I would know as experience was that my heart would still love. That love that I had for that person was still there, despite every excuse in my mind why I shouldn't love. And I remember I felt like ashamed. I felt almost embarrassed. Like, why do I still love this person? This person treated me like crap. This person did this, 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 and this. But I couldn't bypass the love in my heart. What I've come to realize is that anyone that you've ever loved, that love is still there. That love is still there. And what it is like the mind will kind of come up and all the reasons why you don't love them, they cheat on you. Don't love them, they did this, they stole, they did that, and this. And the mind will kind of pull you. So a lot of the exercise is coming back and acknowledging that the love in your heart is still there. And I really don't think heartbreak, I don't think it's the heart that ever really breaks in heartbreak. I think it's your mind's connection. Your mind uses that person as a way to connect to the love in your heart. So when you see somebody and you resonate with that person, it's like all your defenses come down. It's like the clouds move away from the sun and your heart can shine. But now, let's say that person did something, that someone betrayed you or something happened. Now it's almost like there's no like an internet. There's no connection no more, because whatever that person, you try to connect to open your heart to that person, but that whatever that person did, that betrayed you or hurt you, kind of like blocks that. Now you can't get that signal. Now your heart can't open. But it's never the heart that breaks. It's just that that person was a connection for you to open your own heart. It became like a method. So that's really what it is. The heart never really breaks. It's just that was a method that you used to open your heart. That's no longer there. And now, because you needed that person to connect with that part of your heart, you're almost like, it's like you feel that dry feeling. You feel that like heavy feeling. It's like, ugh, and you feel this down because that light's not coming out anymore. You're not getting that warmth. So then you end up, sometimes you could use a coping mechanism, or you end up seeking another relationship or doing whatever. But that love is really real. All love, all true love is really unconditional. And that's what I experienced.
I was just about to ask you, so how does the theme of unconditional love plug into that with what you're saying? And
Well, is that really, I mean, we have conditions that we set upon our hearts usually. And sometimes that's part of the practice, our spiritual practices. Sometimes what you do is you find someone that your heart closes to, and that person could be a teacher. Now that person's now your teacher. That person can now be um, a method, a practice for you. How can you practice to open your heart to that person? I know like Ramdas would have a prayer table, and he would have like set up like people that were easy to open his heart to things that were difficult. So he would start with like, a picture of his guru, a picture of God, a picture of Jesus, maybe a picture of his mom. And you just go down the line and open your heart, open your heart, open your heart. Then he would have like, Donald Trump or somebody who he had trouble that he judged. And he would just look at that person and you would practice opening your heart to that person. And I noticed that too, is that, I've had people in my day to day life that I had a hard time, that I judged and mostly judged incorrectly. And I would practice opening my heart to that person. I would actually do a meditation. I would picture that person. I would picture myself sending that person love. And it's, manifestation. I noticed that that person would change, behavior would change around me. That person would seem to be like more open to me. Communication would flow. Somehow it would just kind of, I don't know, it would kind of, things would kind of soften. There's like a kind of a soft feeling that kind of happens. So that's how I would practice, practice
the,
loving difficulty with.
it's a really good practice, man. I've heard you talk about that before. I like that. It's really that's good, man. To do it, you could do it with a physical picture, like you said. You can do it
Yeah.
with an imaginative picture and a meditation or whatever. Um, what about in the moment? Like you don't have time. Like you see that person that you have a difficult time with, or that you may have a lot of judgment toward, and
Yeah.
you see them in a social setting or something like that. Like, oh, here's my ex-girlfriend, or oh, here's
Right.
that person that I really just despise. How do you authentically
Well,
like
the
like usher in this practice of unconditional love and letting the other things melt away when all those defenses come, the walls come up, and all those things happen?
well, I think you kind of have to acknowledge that the reason why it came up in the first place. You don't hold anything back. So when it comes up, you feel it, and you recognize it, and you say, okay, anxiety, fear, depression, there,
Anger,
anger. Feeling.
resentment, all the things, Ray, all the things.
And then what I do is I just kind of, I acknowledge them, and then sometimes I use my breath. Sometimes I have to use my breath as sort of the first start, and then I come, or sometimes what I do is I picture breathing through my heart. and I breathe in through my heart, and I kind of, I don't, I acknowledge those fears and stuff like that, but I just try to open my heart. I bring my awareness to my heart. And a lot of times I can kind of see, like, why that anger is there and all that stuff. And, sometimes it's there, but sometimes it's not, it's old stuff, it's past stuff. So, you don't fight anything, you don't bypass anything, but you still just come back to the heart. It's like
Mm,
kind of like meditation. Let's say if you're meditating and you're focused on your breath, and let's say someone knocks on the door or something falls over, or you hear a loud noise outside that distracts you, you acknowledge a distraction, you allow it, but then you kind of like you come back, you center yourself, and
mm,
maybe sometimes it takes a pause, and it's because you want your actions to be responsive, not reactive, and if you let those, a lot of times those anger, those emotions, those anger and stuff, they're kind of like tidal waves, and it's kind of like they can kind of like wash over you and kind of pull you back out into the sea, and you kind of have to kind of ground yourself in the moment, ground yourself in the heart, and allow those things to kind of over you, those anger and everything, but you kind of brace yourself, and you let it kind of wash over you, and it goes back away.
mm.
That
I
makes
like
any
that.
sense.
Yeah, total sense, man. I think I used to have a practice of in those situations um, asking myself, what would a golden retriever do? And and like, come here, come here, come here, come here. I love you. Come here. What's that? Who's that? What are we doing? What are we, and that was like the very old hyper, maybe often high me that was just like the best way for me to break down these barriers or these things I'm feeling is to bulldoze through them and just be a golden retriever, like, Wonder Twin powers activate, form of golden retriever, go, and just meet that person or that environment with unadulterated, just blinding, like, love. Now that can work if it's genuine, um, to a certain degree. It can also be overwhelming for people, like, whoa, what is this guy doing or whatever, especially with exes and stuff like that. Um, but what you're saying more so addresses something that's more healthy, and that's giving yourself a moment, breathe, allow the things to come up versus going,
Mhm.
golden retriever time.
Right.
And yeah, and so I think how that's evolved through, and there's time for golden retriever time, but it's got to be, it's got to be real, and it can't, you have to be mindful that, that could really scare other people or make them feel like you're not being real, and what is this abundance of love, and why is it here? I don't trust it. So for me, just personally, something that I lead with now is, I'll take a minute to, like, you know, ground myself with a breath or two, um, because what I feel like I'm stepping into, um, is I'm about to reveal something to this person that they might not have any idea or they've been longing for, and that's an apology of sorts. So I'll find something in this person or this relationship where I have failed them genuinely, where I feel like, man, I could have been a better friend. I could have been a better romantic partner. Where, you know, sometimes you run into someone 5 years later. Gosh, there's something that you could take from that relationship 5 years ago where you felt like, man, I wasn't there for them, or I really didn't show up for them in this way, or I could have done better, XYZ. And so walking up, and I don't want to say it's a disarming tactic or anything, but I think it's sometimes you only have a quick opportunity to connect with someone that may be difficult to connect with, that you haven't had that just open, loving respect and trust, and there's no walls there. And so I think it's a really great way to go, to take that opportunity you may not get for another 5 more years and go, right, I I don't know if you remember this, but the one time we went to the baseball game, and this girl walked by, and I said this, and blah, whatever, blah blah. I really feel like I wasn't being a good friend, and I've held on to this for a while. I've been wanting to tell you. I'm sorry I haven't told you sooner, but I could have showed up better for you at the baseball game that day. And if it hurts you in any way, you know. I'm sorry. I want to take this chance because I don't know when I'm going to see you again to offer that. And I don't think it's you're approaching someone with your tail in between your legs. I think you're like trying to say like, hey, we're not close friends for a reason, or there's some walls up for a reason. Maybe this is one of them. And I'm going to start the conversation with coming from a place of vulnerability and going, man, like I wish I could have been better for you. And I don't know. I think that's just something that I've been doing, you know, lately. Not too often because I'm not out and about that often, but you know, when it comes up, or you know, even if someone reaches out via text, or someone you haven't seen, you know, on Facebook or whatever, drops you a message, or you could even start the conversation. You don't have to see them. You could be like, maybe it's time to reach out to this person and just say, hey, I've been holding on this for a while, and you know, if it hurts you in any way, or even if it didn't, I'd like to share this with you, and and just get this out there. You know,
That's a good approach.
I don't know.
I kind of, I think it kind of, you kind of, because you're coming from apology, you're non-threatening to that person.
Yeah, and I think it's important to establish that, like, because you know what I'm holding on to this. What are they holding on to? You know, and if you're coming from a place of like hands up in the air, like, hey, we haven't talked in a while. I just want to start by saying, you know, before the small talk and stuff. Oh, how are you? Hey, blah blah blah. What have you been doing? Because no one cares about that. That's just all like that's just you know this just small to chit chat. That's just being like I don't want to say fake, but it's uncomfortable. But at the same time it's comfortable, and that's our safety, our go to. Oh, blah 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 blah. And then that rare instance where we get to connect. Did we really connect? Did we establish anything like deep or genuine there? Or did we blow that shot to make some progress and evolve and lighten the load that we've been carrying and maybe heal a heart that we've hurt in the past in some way or another? I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know. But unconditional love, Ray. Unconditional love.
Well, hard, unconditional love is sometimes hard too, because especially now in this time, because things are so polarizing, and there's a lot of division going on right now. So we're a lot of times we're caught up here in our mind and our opinions and our beliefs and our judgments, and that can kind of cause us to close our hearts towards people, even people who are close to us, even friends and colleagues and family, people you disagree with. But it's this important to remember is that you know love, 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 and maybe you could have differences and opinions, but that person's a soul, just like I'm a soul. That person is this, that, and not letting that stuff close you off. It's like a family who loves each other can have a fight and have an argument, and they feel safe to say to each other what's on their mind, because they know at the end of the day after that argument that love is still there. They feel safe. They feel safe in their own heart. So
You can't expect unconditional love from anyone. Anyone. And sorry it took me 40 something years to learn this. To all you people out there that I've known in one way or another, friends, family, etc., you can't expect unconditional love from anyone unless you're willing to give it, um, A, to them, but B, first and foremost, to yourself.
yeah.
Um, and that's a lifelong practice, man. I say, sorry, it's taken me 40 years. It might take me another 20 or 30 to really understand um, unconditional love. So expecting it from a parent and going, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna love fill in the blank until they love me unconditionally. You know, basically you've put a condition there. Right. Right. And it wasn't until catching myself saying that out loud in frustration, I'm like, oh, okay. So if I'm ever going to want it, I'm going to need to learn how to give it better, be a better example of it. I've got some work to do. All right,
All
what's
right.
next? What's next?
In keeping with the theme of femininity, I'm gonna go with
Oh,
the Ali Goddess.
okay. You see my goddess guidance and raise
That
me
is Ali.
and you raise me a colleague. Okay. Well,
So right now, coming to whatever question you have. I know in the book some of them are a little like kind of drawn out, but when I go in the book, I'll find the kernel of the message to it. So,
Ooh, the ooey gooey morsel of
ooey, the morsel.
yummy tummy goodness.
Okay, number 12 is Kali Yantra. This is what the card looks like. Kali Yantra.
Okay.
Looks like hands praying, or maybe even doing. I don't know what they're doing. So, okay, let me read this top part here.
Read it.
Inner power to evoke a positive shift in your circumstances. If anything required for success be lacking, the Divine Mother shall provide it, bridging the divide between you and the manifestation of your intentions. You are crossing a critical spiritual threshold. She is the true guardian and guide. Stay focused on what matters in your heart, and you shall remain faithfully connected to her protective presence within. Allow distractions to fall away and continue to commit to your soul's journey. A more beautiful experience of life, of your life path awaits you. Let me see if there's another. Says, finally, this oracle is a notice of supreme protection. If you suspect that you've been subject of negative energy work or projections from others, that you are being blocked or sabotaged, intentionally or otherwise, the oracle of Kalyantra is a medicine of clearing and protection that shall nullify the effect. There is no need to dwell upon negative workings of power, nor be intimidated by worldly authority. Place your faith in the ultimate power of divine.
Boom. The ending there for me just wraps it all up. I mean,
Yeah.
that entwines everything we've been talking about: empowerment, belonging,
Yeah.
unconditional, all that stuff. Like, you are protected. If you're doing this good work for yourself, you're ultimately doing it for others. Like, you gotta, it's an act of, Ray said, courageousness, stepping into that power, stepping into those areas of uncomfortability to shine. Like, you're going to be protected. You're always going to be protected when you're doing that divine work. It's just good. It's good, and it may not feel like it. It may seem super freaking scary, but take those steps, and you will be supported in the most magical and surprising of ways as you do it. And the heights that you'll lift are just unfathomable. Keep going. Keep going.
I think too is that they said, the negativity, a lot of times when we're on this journey and you're healing, sometimes we could be triggers for other people's negativity because of the work that we're doing and we're being authentic. So sometimes people that see that, we trigger them because they're not doing that work. If they're being inauthentic and they have all this repressed stuff going on that they're unhealed, it seems like sometimes we could become targets for those kind of like, we trigger them and they see how that we're being positive, we're moving forward, we're making positive changes in our life, we're taking steps ahead in our life. And sometimes people don't like that. There's people who out there, I guess you could say, they're haters. And I think usually when you're doing something good, you're going to attract some level of haters. And you can't let those haters bring you down, because sometimes we, especially, spiritual people, we love people, and then sometimes we feel like we don't want to bother them. It's so we feel bad that we're causing them, or that we're triggering them. So we kind of feel guilty for triggering them when it's not our fault. We're not responsible for triggering them. That's they're responsible for their own state of consciousness. So just because you may making those changes and stepping out into your awareness may trigger some people, you can't let that. You got to stay on the journey. You can't fall off the spiritual wagon or whatever, fall off the path and and kind of go back to your life of playing it safe.
Now, you
You know.
say that, but it's a lot of time people might meet you with the easier said than done, Ray. These
Oh
haters,
yeah.
the haters out there are strong, man, and that scares me. I don't want to offend anyone, or I don't want people coming at me from this angle or that angle with this agenda or that. Like, I can't handle that. I can't do it. I can't do it. And that's what makes a lot of us cower. So how do you you say we can't let those people do that. How do do we just embrace this understanding of I am protected, like,
If it helps you, I mean, sometimes we need to, sometimes we may need to have that, you know, that connection to somehow. And I think a lot of times that goes back to community, the belonging, and that's why I think that's the reason why it's important to have that satsang and have that community, that tribe, to kind of help you kind of get back and kind of replenish you and kind of like, okay, you know, yeah, I have these haters right here, but look, I have this group of love right here too. They can kind of, they're supportive of me and everything. And sometimes you can see that, you know, sometimes you can see why that person was triggered too, or why that person's offended, because, you know, it's not, maybe you can kind of relate to that and empathize with them too, and be like, yeah, I remember how I was, like, you know, 3 years ago, I was in their shoes, and I probably would have felt the same way if I met someone like me, because this person's, you know, kind of challenging the system, and, you know, whatever it is, this person's, you know, this person, I know that person's having that reaction because of that, and I don't judge them, because I know it's not me doing it, it's because that person is holding on to, you know, something that's repressed, or something, some kind of old wound. So you end up having empathy for your haters, I think, eventually. But yeah, going back to that community is a really, you know, supportive structure that'll kind of give you that protection, really.
Yeah, having empathy for your haters. I think that's really important to, not, you don't necessarily have to reach back out to them if they're
No.
assaulting you on social media or anything like that. I'm not saying engage, and unless it's in person or whatever, and that's a totally different beast to tame. And I think it's easier, and it's different, the people that hate you online versus in person. In person, you have this opportunity to go, why are you so angry, or what's hurting you so much with what I'm doing personally that's making you, want to address our relationship or this situation in this way, and give them a chance to have a stage to say what's really hurting them or bothering them, where their pain points are, and how can we remedy this together. Online, it's much different. I'm not saying to engage in anyone, or uh, to to provoke, antagonize, or feed the fire with exactly what maybe they want. You got to pick and choose your battles. How you want to handle it and what you're most comfortable with. But maybe you just ask yourself, like, wow, what's happened to this person to be in so much pain to come at me in this manner, and just try, like you said, empathize with them, and why what you've said or haven't said or done or haven't done has affected them in this adverse way, to express themselves in the way that they're expressing themselves. And just, I think that's unconditional love too,
Yeah.
especially someone that's coming at you in a negative or violent or just unhealthy way. But to be able to take a moment to reflect on why that may be, and what may be underneath their levels of pain to be creating that. But the community thing, you're right, man. Like I told you, man, when you're doing the good work, people show up, and things will surprise you in the most magical and coolest ways, man. And I remember working the farmer's market on one Sunday, and I had and I'm selling crystals, selling crystals at a farmer's market, man. And this guy comes in, and I had kids at the table, and he was grabbing things and moving people out of the way, and he was like, what does this thing do, and what does this do? And he's like, do I just point this and fire at people and this and that? And he was making the kids very uncomfortable, and he was just his energy was just, it was not cool, man. And like, you have to have patience for people when you're in environments like that. But this guy was stepping out of line, just physically. The way he was negotiating the space was not cool. And so I don't confront people. It's very rare, but I had to take a stand for these kids. And in that moment, and I grabbed the thing out of his hand. It was a selenite wand, and I slammed it down on my GI Joe lunchbox, which was my cash box. So it made a loud noise, and it kind of startled the kids. But the kids were already startled by his ridiculous presence. And I was like, I said, I don't remember exactly what I said, but I was like, you must go. And I had this like deep voice that possessed me or whatever. But in that moment, I stood up for myself, for my table, for, these kids. And I was like, and never come back. Right. And he like scurried away like some little like golem, like, I'll get you, my precious. And like, he was scared. I don't know where it came from, but it came from a place of just stepping into that moment of that power and saying, I cannot allow this. Right now, here's my point. I looked, man, my heart's beating through the chest, like, because I don't do this, man. This isn't my normal MO, but I didn't want, I felt like we were all being bullied. And when I did that, the kids kind of looked at me like that was cool, like, because that guy was creeping us out. And so I looked to my left, and there's this guy standing there with his hand on the pole, and he has this dog. And I was like, I've never seen him in my life. Right. And I was like, hey, man, was that? I instantly felt like apologetic shame for like exploding like this on another human being. Right. And I was like, was that okay? Like, did I step out of bounds? Was that like, you know, wrong or weird? He goes, no, dude. He's like, that was a very bad person. And he's like, and you did a very good thing. And he leaned in, and with these sparkly eyes, man, he goes, and just so you know, I have a lot of previous training, and my dog and I here would never have allowed that to escalate to another level in which it looked like it was headed. He's like, you were safe the whole time. I never met this guy in my life. Today, he's a friend.
Wow.
He does cool things in the community. I get to know him, and he does yoga and shit like that. But dude, the community, a person I'd never met was there, angel on my shoulder, not even knowing the whole time. He was there with
Wow.
his like German Shepherd looking dog, like protecting. And I mean, it's just a story I like to share with people. Like, when you least expect it, you step into your power, be real, be
Yeah.
courageous. You never know how you're going to be supported, but when it happens, man, it'll tickle you and touch you
It
and
kind of
lift you
reminds,
to new
yeah.
heights, man.
Your story kind of reminds me of a story that well, Ramdas would read this story, but it wasn't about him. It was about this a keto trainer that died. I forget his name was died, and it was about the story on the subway. And the guy, I think his name was Terry, is the guy, and he was doing a keto for like 8 hours a day for like 3 years, but he's never been in a fight. As a keto trainer, I always say like, keto is to resolve conflict. But he always had that feeling he wanted like, he wanted something to happen so he could like be the good guy and use this, his training. And there was this drunk guy on the train, and whatever, he starts like assaulting, like almost like hits a baby and whatever, this couple. And he's like, this is it, this is my chance to right the wrong and be the hero. And so he looks at the guy, and the guy is like, oh, a foreigner. He's like, so the guy Terry, he like blew him a kiss to get him like pissed off. And he's like, okay, he's like, I'm gonna take this guy apart, but he has to make the first move. So the guy, the drunk guy goes to like kind of like charge at him. And then right before he goes, this like old man in a kimono in his 70s is like, hey. And they're like, what? They both like look like, what? Hey. And the guy's like, come here. And he's like, come talk to me. And the guy's like, what you been drinking? And he's like, sake. And the guy's old man's like, oh, me and my wife, we love sake. We drink it every day. We go outside and, underneath the persimmons tree. And, but the winter come and we're not sure if that tree's going to make it. And the guy's just like, the drunks are like, what the, you know? And then the guy's like,
Yes.
yeah, I like persimmons too. And he's like, oh, I'm sure. The old man's like, I'm sure you and your wife, have a wonderful marriage. He's like, no. He's like, my wife died. He's like, I have no job, no money. He's like, I'm ashamed of myself.
Oh,
And the guy Terry, who was the American karate guy, he felt like, now he felt bad.
right. Oh,
But then he kind of like, he said he walked out, into the train, and then he turned around and he saw that the drunk was in the old man's lap, and the guy was like patting his head, and he's just like,
oh shit.
and he learned that like, he just saw keto and training, and basically it was love. It wasn't, what he wanted to do with muscle and might, the old man did with words.
Mm,
So I don't know.
nice. Huh. I love that.
I don't know where I was going with that, but
No, that's a great story. It's a great piggyback on what I was talking about.
yeah,
I wish I had, an old man there that could have, I look back on that moment of I mean, I felt like Gandalf just like parting, like,
yeah,
like thou shall not pass. And,
right.
but I mean, I was already patient with him, patient, allowing. And then I got to the point where I just had to stand up. There was nothing that I could offer in a sense of lovingness in that moment or understand, aside from pulling him aside. I
I
think in
think that
retro,
was
yeah,
that was
okay, well, let's explore that in a second. Um, the only thing, when I look back on it, like maybe I could have pulled the guy aside from the kids and had a conversation with him, but he had pushed me in ways that were making me and what was easily discernible as the children as well being exceptionally uncomfortable. Um, that in that moment I was pressed to do what I did. And but you
You
know,
were
if
Shiva.
if 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 you know, all these years later, if I could have done it again, I would have probably like taken him off to the side and had a conversation with him to offer some empathy and understanding of why is he challenging us and presenting himself in this light in this particular environment the way he's doing it, like, and maybe connecting with him on that level. And if he continued to press, then hopefully my ninja warrior shows up with his dog again, and we can help cool the situation in the most respectful and placid way as possible. But you said you felt that it was love. How was that love?
Was loving because you were loving because sometimes love has to be an act of courage and an act of sometimes there's a fight in love. The way love is expressed, you felt love for those children. Those children were, being offended. Those children were maybe in a emotional danger or something. You don't know.
They were scared.
So you had to provide for that safety. And not only was he disrespectful for you to them, he was being disrespectful to you. And someone who loves themselves isn't going to allow themselves to be disrespected by somebody else. So it is an act of self-love and an act of love for those children that you stood up for yourself, and you were in the moment and you acted. You weren't sitting there calculating, well, maybe if I say it nicely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's that energy just came through that way, and
yeah.
that's the way that it had to. That's the way it manifested.
Yeah, and the
And
voice that came out of me, Ray, was
right. So it was authentic. It was authentic in the moment, and that's how that love had to be expressed, and it had to be expressed. And you were Shiva in that moment. You were the destroyer. But your heart, but
uh,
you did. But your heart was still open. Your heart wasn't closed.
and because it was, I think that's I was gifted with the closure of that conversation with someone that was a stranger to me at the time, that became a friend and a very healthy member of our community here in Orlando. And you are protected. It's hard to grow fruit, but you are protected. That's got to be a t-shirt one day. It's going to be a t-shirt. It's hard to grow fruit. Hey, so I see your Kali. Is that how you say it?
Yes.
And
Kali.
I raise you a Kuan Yin.
Oh.
Bum bum bum. Kuan Yin in the house. Oh yeah. This is a sassy deck, man. This is a very, I mean, these cards are beautiful. Watch out. Danger. Hey, if you want a reading from the Kuan Yin deck, your card is about to pop out. Little dab will do ya. Okay. Shuffle it up. So yeah, man. You want a Kuan Yin card, ask a question, you want a general reading, be open for it. If not, we're just going to continue this conversation. We have about 20 more minutes tops, Ray. So
All
I'll
right, we'll
make
make
this
this
as
last one.
I'll make this one, wrap this up as quick as possible here. Boom. What does this say? Whoa. Spin the silken thread divine.
Hmm. Sexy.
Yeah, these cards are very sexy. They're all like, it's a beautiful deck. This is card number 30, 30. Ray, you know I love the power of three. So happy to pull a 30 card. Wow, there's a lot of literature here. Oh my God, I don't have my reading light either. So we're gonna have to maybe I'm gonna do my best, Ray. I'm gonna be that all day. Yeah, my readers on here. Woo! Okay, there's a lot to read here. So let's see here.
Sometimes it says like this oracle provides you.
Right. There's the prayer, healing, dispensing the divine. Oh my God, there's so much. Gosh, I didn't realize how much there was here. Okay, let me read the beginning here. Oh my gosh, the print is so small. Okay, if I stumble, folks, just know I'm reading like microscopic letters here with my old ass eyes. Your past is calling to you. It is calling to be cleared, to be released, and for the beauty and power of the past to be claimed in the present moment, woven together like a precious rare silk. All the experiences, mistakes, adventures, and successes of your past in this and other lifetimes have given your soul plenty of material from which to draw its wisdom, like fine silken threads being woven into a beautiful fabric. How wonderful. It has had to grow in awareness, light, capacity, and love in order to be where it is now. I will sum it up by reading this paragraph. You are being guided by Kuan Yin now to realize that your past is nothing to be ashamed of. Even the worst mistakes that you have judged yourself or others for have been opportunities to really grow in love. It's the perfect card. The precious silk could not be formed without the rough layers of the cocoon within which the pure thread is spun by the silkworm. So to have you wait. So too have you been able to weave something truly beautiful within the experiences of your life, even those which you no longer need to carry with you as memories or scars.
Hmm. Well, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay. Kind of what I got out of that is, take the wisdom, take the lesson, and then leave the rest behind from your past. Um, and in realizing that everything that you've been through in the past isn't punishment; it was a lesson. And seeing it through that, maybe through that perception, um, is everything is grist for the mill for awakening. It's all there to for you to evolve. So take what you learn, take the wisdom. Maybe you have to do some shadow work, do some healing stuff to get over some of those wounds. Um, those wounds that caused coping mechanisms that kind of still maybe get in the way of our relationships in the present need to be cleared. But take that wisdom, and you know what, and don't be ashamed of your past. We've all done things. No one's perfect in that regard.
yeah. What I'm hearing in the spirit of keeping this brief. Thank you for that perspective. That's perfect. I love everything you just said about that, um, and it that just implanted in me something I didn't even read, but your words made me think about the previous cards that we visited in the way that, like the unconditional love one, for instance, um, we can't forgive others until we learn how to forgive ourselves.
Right.
Right. This is a big lesson that I'm still learning. And what, you don't need to forgive anyone or everyone, or you can forgive who you want. It's not. I'm saying we need to forgive everyone, but forgiving yourself is a tough practice. And going back to these experiences, never forget, but forgive those things that you pass very harsh judgment on yourself. Find ways to do the work that Ray's talking about, to find peace in those lessons, and take the gift of wisdom and allow it to open into new emotional experiences and adventures and connection, by way of making space for them to arrive, because you've nurtured um, those judgment situations, wounds of the past, in the most loving and forgiving way possible. And then maybe you'll find space in your present life or future um, life, uh, or your future present. What am I trying to say? You know what I mean?
I know.
Um, um, to connect with people in a forgiving, maybe it's a parent, maybe it's a relationship, a child, um, that has hurt you in some way, and you can now, because you've done that and cleared some space there and made that more healthy, this garden, then this one can grow in ways that feel good to you. You don't feel for like, oh, I should probably apologize to this person, but you want to, because of the loving work you did for yourself here in your past here, that you want to forgive and make
Yeah.
make some type of peace here with these people in these
It's not coming
relationships.
it's not coming from obligation. It's coming from
Right.
if you want to release that stuff that's been you've been carrying.
Yes, and release that person, or unconditionally love them in a way you've never done before, because you never unconditionally loved yourself in those ways before, to give yourself the opportunity to heal in those ways. Bada bing, bada boom, bang. Next card.
You think we should wrap it up, or is it?
Oh wait, you don't want to do one more card?
Should we do one more? Do we have enough time?
Yeah, we got time because
All right.
I did three. You did two so
Okay.
far, right?
All right. I'm just gonna do a Zeno show. Those are usually pretty fast, pretty easy.
If you want a reading from Ray, just a private reading, here's your private Ray session. You can ask a question about love, relationships, future, career, whatever, or you can just ask Ray for a general message. But we're using it as our spirit talk today to close this conversation that's
Ooh.
taken us from empowerment to unconditional love to belonging to community to now guilt. Shit.
Yeah.
Of course, we're gonna wrap it up with guilt.
All right. I'm not even gonna look at it. My take on guilt is that, you know what, you weren't the same person you were 5 minutes ago. You're not the same person you were a month ago, a week ago, a year ago. So sometimes the things that you did, you weren't at the level of consciousness you are now. So you're not the same person. So whatever you did, when you did something painful, to hurtful to somebody, it goes back to forgiving. Like what we're just talking about, forgiving. That's the key. Guilt, and recognizing that. I look back at some stuff I did like 6 years ago, 7 years ago, and I'm like, man, why the hell did I do that? But I'm not the same person I was back then. It's easy to, hindsight's 2020. It's always easy to look back, and sometimes you did something, you felt like you wronged somebody, and it's like, man, I feel this really bad for that. I wouldn't have done that. The person who I am today wouldn't have done that. But you're not, you weren't that person then, and you kind of you have to have compassion for yourself. I think that's what it is, the compassion for yourself, for that guilt you're feeling. Meet that guilt with compassion. And then I think while that happens, eventually with time, start to forgive. And forgiveness isn't all click, forgive. Sometimes forgiveness is a process. It's like an iceberg, this guilt, and maybe as we forgive a little bit, it melts away and melts away and melts away and gets smaller. And sometimes that takes years,
Yeah,
maybe decades, but
yeah,
patience, compassion. That's all I
yeah,
gotta say.
yeah. That's great. I don't have much to add to that except, you know, it's a heavy thing to carry, and it's an exhausting thing to carry guilt, and um, in order to transcend from from that burden, we have to bring it loving awareness, like Ray said, have compassion for it. So like you can do meditations where that's your trigger or whatever, like what do I feel guilty about, what relationships, what things that I've done, and allow yourself to go there and connect with it in a very intimate and friendly way. Have tea with your guilt, sit down, have tea and cookies with your guilt, or some call it your monsters or whatever. So these things that weigh on us and that make life in the present day more difficult, or make us more secluded in our interminglings with other folks. um, Maybe if you sit with those things and allow their voices to be heard and expressed, and you bring loving awareness to it, you could see it in a different light and connect with it in a way that you can integrate it into your present person that is very different from that thing that you felt guilty about 5 years ago, and create a love language that you can share with others in a very healthy and connective way. That's all I got to say about that, Ray.
All right, let's wrap it up.
Okay. With like a rap, like you want me to freestyle our way out of here? Just shoot from the heart, man, and that's what we
All
do
right,
because I'm
man.
playing my part,
Thank you,
man, and that's
everybody.
how I do, man. Oh,
Thank you to all
are you
your listeners.
breaking out my freestyle
Start,
rap? Are you
start rapping.
walking over my rap, man? I'm trying to
All
tell you, don't do that, because when I start to flow, whoa, giddy up and go. No, I won't do it right now. This is not the freestyle channel, but one day I'm gonna break it out, and you're gonna be like, "Go, John, with the J," or some type of old school dance. I say we wrap it up with each of us doing an old school dance, and thanking our. Yeah, you got to think of one, man. I've got one. I've got one for sure. And I'll just do it real quick. It's that one where you do that. You know. Oh, you do. Whoa, you're taking me disco. Nice, guys. We love you, ladies. We love you, um, gentlemen, women, all of the people and the pets that are out there listening, the persons from around the world. Love all of you. Thank you for joining us and giving us a chance to connect with you in this wonder filled of ways through the medium of cards and spirit talks and whatever we decide to do. We don't decide until we have our little pre-talk a few minutes
Right.
before the show. We're like, "What are we doing today?" He's like,
And
"Well,
eventually
maybe."
that might be the show.
Yeah, yeah, because our pre-shows, we've told you this before, are hysterical. We need, I think, we talked about needing an editor, someone that could just take all the stuff and make it one just explosive production, but we're not there yet. We have no budget, no money. So send us your donations, send us your messages, send us everything to keep this boat floating. We're open to any and all of it. Suggestions for future episodes or ways to read cards or decks we should maybe order online or otherwise.
Dances for John.
What's that?
Dances for you.
Yes, dances for me. Topics to freestyle rap on. I'll do it, man. I will challenge myself here for myself and for each and every one of you. But without any further ado, I got to sign out today. I'm John with a J.
Bodhi Ray. Namaste.
We'll see you next time,
All right.
folks. And we are out.